Oh. Satchidananda Rupaya Vishvotpatyadi Hetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadhyasya yatonvayati tarataschaarteshvabhignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayaha Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Projita Ketavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavamatra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Parerishwaraha Sadyo Hridya Parudyate Trakritibihi Shushrushubistatchana. With your eyes closed, feel the fortune you have in your own opportunities, and feel that you are able to share the same with those you know well, those you don't know. Hari Om, and greetings from Niagara Falls. Kamadeva often feels that he is the most powerful. And he tried to radiate this power to Bhagavan Shiva. And what happened to Kamadeva? He was overpowered by Bhagavan Shiva. So Kamadeva, he next tries to overpower Bhagavan Krishna. The Rasa Leela is also known as the Kama Vijaya Leela. This was a test or a game between Kamadeva and Bhagavan Krishna. And obviously, Bhagavan Krishna won. He overpowered Kamadeva. I'm sharing this with all of you because there's times, there's experiences when we feel we have overpowered Kamadeva or Krodha Deva or Lobha Deva and so on. But they keep coming back, which is why we have to engage in Nitaram Dhyaihi, which becomes Nididhyasana. Nitaram means perpetual. Dhyaihi means to keep in mind. Keep what in mind? Not what, but who. Keep Bhagavan Krishna in your mind. Keep Bhagavan Shiva in your mind, and they will fight Kamadeva for you. Remember, if there's no Kama, there also will not be Krodha, which is anger, or Lobha, which is greed. Remember the theology of our scriptures, what I've been sharing with you. The gopis succeeded in this. Manohara, their minds were stolen or captivated or filled with Bhagavan Krishna. And what the gopis would do, when they were in their homes during the day, even at night, their manava sharira was there, as in their human body was at home, but their divya sharira was in the rasa lila. Divya here means celestial or astral body was there. Just like some of you, your bodies are here, but your minds are in your bed or kitchen. But here, this is training for our bodies to be in our professional engagements or seva or exercising, but our minds to always be in Bhagavata. And there's no shortage of content, yes? We still have thousands of verses to go. Bhagavan Krishna had sent Sri Uddhava to the gopis. And in his message, he said the map to me. Map here is Veda. Me, that is Bhagavan. The map to me is samadhana. Samadhana means the senses and mind are absorbed in that which is the highest. That's quite practical for us. What is the map to our divinity? Samadhana. Be more balanced, be more focused, be more reflective. In the language of Bhagavad Gita, I've shared with you, more important than how to act is why to act. More important than how to act is why to act. The gopis engaged in everything we're doing. I'm sure more, but their why was quite different than ours is. Coming back to Mathura, Bhagavan Krishna goes to Sairandri's home and to Akrura's home. And both of them want that which is very different from Bhagavan. Sairandri, she wants bhukti. That is the lower three P's: pleasure, possession, position. And Akrura, he wants mukti, which is the higher P. And the framework I gave all of you on how to grow out of bhukti and into mukti is less annotating, less blaming, and less complaining. The way I analyze this, annotating is like a sattvic desire. I'm justifying why I didn't do this or justifying why I did do this. Blaming is like a rajasic expression that something went wrong, but I'm so extrovert, so I'm putting it on you. And complaining is like a tamasic expression that something negative has happened and it's not my fault and it's not your fault. So I'm just venting right now. I'm just complaining. It's quite tamasic. There's no purpose. Reduce these A's, B's, and C's, and one will come to understand and appreciate. You can have bhukti or mukti. Why would you choose bhukti? We continue. The 10th skanda, the 50th adhyaya, the 50th shloka. 10, 50, 50, and Raja Rishi Shuka is speaking to Raja Parikshita, describing what Akrura was doing in Hastinapura. Remember, he was sent there to find out what's happening with the Pandavas and the Kauravas. At least indulge me and smile and nod. I say you remember this, and there's no acknowledgement. 10, 50, 50. Iti samantrya Bhagavan Durgam Dwadasha Yojanam Antas Samudre Nagaram Kritsnad Bhutam Achikarat. What happens here? Shri Krishna is thinking about how to protect his people and his place. And so he creates a fortress in the middle of the ocean. And this fortress is the new home of all of the people and his place, known as Dwaraka. So obviously we've jumped quite far. Let me share how we got to Dwaraka, from Mathura to Dwaraka. When Akrura was in Hastinapura, trying to find out about the Pandavas particularly, Bhagavan Krishna knew that the Kauravas were not treating them well. He stayed there for many months. And I like these details because it shows he spoke to all sorts of personalities. His sample size was not small. And his overall observation was the Kauravas were jealous of the Pandavas. Jealousy is often known as a match. First it burns you, and then it burns others. Think about how you interact with people you are jealous of. Do I have to explain? I was thinking about this differently. Jealousy is like poison. First it poisons you, and then it poisons others. If you think of the Kauravas, they did both of these to the Pandavas, correct? They tried to burn them. They tried to poison them. So this is indicative of what's in the heart of one who is jealous. One of the personalities that Akrura interacts with is Devi Kunti. And Rishi Shuka tells Raja Parikshita, this is your great-grandmother. Remember Raja Parikshita, yes? He's supposed to be us in this katha. And I love all of these details. Your great-grandmother is involved in this history, and how he describes how sad she is too much. And the only way to comfort her was sharing that your children are divine. And they are. Prince Arjuna is divine. Then Akrura goes to Dhritarashtra and gives him amazing advice. Here are some of the highlights. These are intense thoughts for all of us. He shares, even while one is living, the beings around them come and go. Leave alone, when you die, your body will leave you. While I'm alive, people keep coming in and out of my life, correct? That I can't hold on to people. In fact, I can't even hold on to my body. When that dies, that will go one way and I will go another way. He's sharing with Dhritarashtra. He further shares, one who is attached, they abandon their responsibilities for those who they are attached to. And eventually, those they are attached to abandon them. So I'm giving away my dharma by holding on to my attachments, but who I'm attached to keeps coming and going. And that leaves one confused. And the English words that are used are purposeless. And he compares that to living in hell. Don't you all agree? When one doesn't have purpose for a day or a job or school, that's being in hell. And what Dhritarashtra shares back to Akrura, he shares, I am attached to my children, to my family, and this agitates my mind, so I can never follow advice. Attachment leads to agitation, which leads to a rejection of advice. So tell me, who's Dhritarashtra? This is class 104. The message hasn't changed. The message is Bhagavan is number one, we are number two. But following the advice, why we don't do it? Because the mind is agitated. This is why we listen to bhajans before class. This is why I sleep with my eyes open before I speak to you. And Akrura comes home. There's a change in scene. With Kamsa's death, Kamsa had two wives. Their names are Asti and Prapti. And their father is Jarasandha. Have you all heard of Jarasandha before? So when these two daughters go back to their father, sad that their husband was killed, Jarasandha is angry, is furious at Bhagavan Krishna. So he begins his campaign of attacking Mathura. Now I'm going to share with you some huge numbers about how organized Jarasandha was. He attacked Mathura 17 times. And every time he had 23 Akshohinis with him. In the Bhagavad Gita, how many Akshohinis are gathered at Kurukshetra? Someone tell me. In total, how many Akshohinis? 18. He came with 23, 17 times. I have calculated this out at 94 million people are involved from Jarasandha's side. 94 million. That's 3 times the population of Canada, generally. And every time, Bhagavan Krishna was like a firebrand. Do you all know what a firebrand is? Can you show me? This is one of those words that we never use, like rectitude or tortoise and so on. A firebrand essentially is like an incense stick or those things you use in caves. I think they're called mashal in Hindi or Sanskrit, where there's a torch on the end. And Bhagavan Krishna was moving so fast that it looked like it was a solid circle, like a discus. And he and Balarama burned through these 94 million beings. And what's so cool about this is Bhagavan Krishna used to dance like this, correct? And now he fights like this too. Bhagavan Krishna has gone from being a dancer to a warrior. Every time Jarasandha attacked, he was never captured. He was always allowed to go. Why? Because Bhagavan Krishna knew Jarasandha would gather more wicked people and come back. One of Bhagavan Krishna's purposes is to correct the wicked. See the efficiency. Hey, loser, go get some more people that I can defeat. What a warrior. Now, at one point, there was another wicked leader. His name is Kala Yavana. Kala Yavana. If you want to insult someone, you call him, hey, Kala Yavana. And he was foreign to Bharata. So he was an enemy to Hastinapura. And he came to attack Mathura with 35 million soldiers. That is all of Canada. 35 million. And Bhagavan Krishna knew right after Kala Yavana attacks, who's coming next? Jarasandha is coming back. So it is at this point that Bhagavan Krishna closed his eyes and created Dwaraka in the middle of the ocean. Please note, the Dwaraka that Bhagavan Krishna is referring to is not the Dwaraka in Gujarat. To the heartbreak of all of the Gujarati people in our course, you can say what you want, but they are not the same city. Okay? This was in the middle of the ocean. It is in this Dwaraka where Bhagavan Krishna created the assembly hall known as Sudharma. At Chinmaya Vibhuti, the discourse hall is known as Sudharma. And anyone who comes to Sudharma, they never feel hungry or thirsty. That is so cool. It's like a casino. In a casino, you're never hungry or thirsty. Or in the movie theater, you're never hungry or thirsty. But here, this is about Dharma. Dwaraka. Ka, K-A, is the word that symbolizes Brahman. And Dwara, you all know, means the entry or doorway. So Dwaraka is the doorway to infinity. When we had studied Ramayana, I had shared with all of you, there are 7 most holy cities in the world in Bharat, and Dwaraka is one of them. Mathura is another one. Ayodhya is another one. You all remember this. I'll review next week, but you remember it. I'll review for myself next week what these cities are. After the creation of Dwaraka, Bhagavan Krishna transported all of the people from Mathura to Dwaraka. And he kept Balarama in charge of the administration of Dwaraka, and Bhagavan Krishna came back to Mathura by himself. I encourage all of you to read Puja Guruji's commentary on Jarasandha and Dwaraka. There's some lovely connections there. I never have time to speak about them. So you read this yourself. That's the thick book that I often show you. Our next shloka. Skanda 10, the 51st adhyaya, the 54th shloka. 10, 51, 54. And this is Raja Muchukunda. I'll say it slower. Muchukunda. That's a nice name. When I go downstairs, I'm going to call Shuka Muchukunda. Is speaking to Bhagavan Krishna. He shares. Bhava pavargo brahmato yada bhavet janasya tarhyachyuta satsamagamaha satsangamo yarhita deva sadgatau paravareshe tvahi jayate matihi. Raja Muchukunda shares with Bhagavan Krishna, for the one who wants freedom from samsara, they get associated with satsanga. And the trajectory or ends of satsanga is you, as in Bhagavan Krishna. And all of this is indicative of one's end in samsara, of one's communion with you. This is a very lovely verse, verse 54. So who is Raja Muchukunda? When Bhagavan Krishna returned to Mathura, who is waiting for him? Kala Yavana. Remember? And Bhagavan Krishna ran out of Mathura, which is why one of his names is Ranachor. Correct? Ranachora, the one who ran away from battle, that came from this narration. And that's not a very pleasant name, correct? If you called me Ranachora, that would mean I'm a coward, that I'm an escapist. But see how lovely it is when Bhagavan is called that. If you called me thief, it would break my heart. We call Bhagavan Krishna a thief all the time. It adorns him. When Bhagavan ran, Kala Yavana chased him. And they entered into this cave where Raja Muchukunda was sleeping. And Bhagavan took his upper cloth and put it on Raja Muchukunda. And Kala Yavana thought this was Bhagavan Krishna. And so he pulled that cloth off. And when Raja Muchukunda woke up, as soon as he opened his eyes, whoever was in front of him was burned to ashes. And so Kala Yavana was destroyed. Now, why is Raja Muchukunda sleeping? He is a great Raja that was supporting the Devas in their fight against the Asuras. And he stayed up all day, all night fighting until who came? Guha. Does anyone know what Guha's more popular name is? Yes, I see. I see the Tamilians coming through. Yes, Subramanya. Yes, when Subramanya came, that's when Raja Muchukunda was relieved. And the Devas went to Raja Muchukunda, very grateful for his fight, and said, please ask us of anything you want, any boon other than moksha. We can give you everything, but we can't give you freedom. And what Raja Muchukunda shares, he says, time is moving all of us around, like a gopa moves cows. And so I don't want anything significant from you, because today you're in power, tomorrow you will not. All I want to do right now is sleep. He's like a Sattvic Kumbhakarna. So that's why he was sleeping in this cave. And his sleep wasn't up. His full time wasn't up, which is why when he woke up, he was so infuriated that whoever was in front of him got burned. That is not different than us, yes? When someone interrupts your sleep, what do? You become Raja Muchukunda. But our power is so weak, we look at them in a mean way, they look back in a mean way too. Now, after Kala Yavana's burned up, Raja Muchukunda sees Bhagavan Krishna just standing in the corner. Bhagavan is so funny. He runs away, disguises himself as a sleeping person, is now just sitting in the corner watching all of this happen. And Raja Muchukunda knows who he is. So he comes to him. And these are amazing verses. I wrote meditation behind all of these. Some of the highlights. He says, worldliness makes one a rat. Worldliness makes one a rat. I'm not saying rad like reflection adventure of the day. I am now saying rat with a T. And that time is the snake. That is very powerful imagery. Now, the more worldly you are, the more rat-like you become, and time will just kill you. The whole idea of that rat in the wheel, same idea. He shares, and I'm going to read this in English because it's awesome. Bhagavan Krishna asks him, what do you want? The Devas only gave him sleep. Now Bhagavan says, what do you want? And he never says, you can ask of me anything but. There's no but there. O all-pervading one, I do not look for any other boon than what thy devotees, without any other possessions, but thee seek. The service of thy feet. That's what he asks for. The service of thy feet. And I keep referencing how different I am from this. If someone asks, what do you want? I don't want to work anymore. What does he ask for? I only want to work for you. That is quite lovely. And this again reinstates what is the fifth purushartha, or the fifth purpose of life? Bhakti. He just wants to live for Bhagavan. Bhagavan later on says, the boons that were offered to you by the Devas, by me, I never offered these to you to test you, but rather to glorify my bhakta. For a bhakta, there's no moha. They love, period. There's no jealousy like the Kauravas. There's no confusion like Prince Arjuna. There's no swaying. Raja Muchukunda knew the Devas could give nothing, so let me just sleep with them. And the final insight from these verses and what Bhagavan shares with us. And I'm shocked at how specific Bhagavan is. He says only bhakti and not pranayama. The exact word that's used here is pranayamadi, which means breathing techniques, etc., will not free one from fear, will not free one from desire. All that pranayama will do is postpone your fear, postpone your desire. It is only devotion that will free one from fear and desire. Now, if you Google right now breathing techniques, some of the biggest organizations and most popular teachers will come up, correct? And here, Bhagavan Krishna is sharing this to the one who has everything, that what you tried before didn't work. All you were doing is sleeping. It is bhakti that will bring you happiness immediately. Lots of practical insights for us. Oh.